Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibuyers, welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. It's Wednesday, January 14th. We are going to go through the morning session in the Brendan Banfield trial. Juliana was still on direct when we got started. When questioned by police, she told the version Brendan told her to. Ultimately, she was arrested in October. They bring in a document that has the conditions of her pleading guilty to manslaughter. She is aware the maximum penalty is 10 years, but she hopes to get less. The Commonwealth points out Brendan's mom paid for her attorneys. He and his mom were her outside line also to her family in Brazil. She said she decided to take the plea because she thought it would be the right thing to do. She said she just couldn't hold the feeling of shame, the guilt, and the sadness anymore. She decided to testify against Brendan because it was the right thing to do, but also it meant she had the potential to get less prison time. After the murders, they did continue their romantic relationship. They eventually returned to live at the house where the murders took place. Her and Brendan moved into her bedroom first and eventually moved back into the master bedroom. In that room, she put up a Brazilian flag and there were photos of them in frames. Brendan's mom was also staying with them, and a few months later, they moved Brendan's grandmother from New York to come live with them. After she was arrested, she still talked to Brendan and sent him letters. She also talked to Brendan's mom, his stepmom, and the grandmother as well. Brendan's mom was putting money on her books and also keeping her in touch with her family in Brazil. The family obviously stopped communicating after she took the plea deal. On cross, so I have to say I was expecting some more fireworks. To me, this has been very repetitive and boring. And what the defense attorney has done all morning is bring in communications from her jail account and having her read out portions of letters that were sent from her to Brendan or Brendan's mom or their responses to her. But he starts out, yesterday there was a lot of talk about the plan when it was originally formulated. She said it was in October, and at that point, the plan was just to kill Christine. The plan became real when they created the account on the FetLife website in January of 2023. That website required an email to sign up, but she doesn't remember the email address they used. She was there when it was created on Christine's laptop, and Christine was home. The defense asked what room they were in when they created the email, and she doesn't know where they were, but she does remember Christine was in the bedroom upstairs. The defense points out a couple of times she doesn't remember anything about the first part of the plan, or things like who got the laptop out of Christine's bag, the email address, or what room they were in when they created it. She said Brendan was the one that created this account. And this is where the defense brings in a lot of these letters. I'm just going to hit some of the important parts because this has been going on for a few hours and, like I said, very repetitive. They start with her saying she's not taking a deal. They had offered her a misdemeanor with time served, and there's also a lot of frustration with her attorney, which is expressed time and time again in a lot of these letters. In another letter, she tells Brendan she can't bear living through this without him. It's too much pain. I can't live like this. I don't want to feel this way anymore. It's torture. I love you more than anything. She tells the defense attorney that letter was explaining her situation and what she was going through mentally with being away from family, being in jail, and being away from Brendan. In a letter to Brendan's mom, she says, "What if they don't let me go home for now? What am I supposed to do? I'd rather die than live like this." The defense asked what she was feeling, and she said she was depressed. He brings in a few letters that just kind of show her depression gets deeper, and she also did have self-harm ideations after being in jail. She was put on medication for depression. She said it made her better, but it also made her feel numb. She stayed on those for a couple of months. In another letter, she says she's not willing to spend life in prison for something she didn't do. Another letter, she wanted to let Brendan and his mom know that the Commonwealth was offering her a deal. The letter said they arrested me for obvious reasons, but they want me to cooperate. They said they know more than I think they know. The only way. Something about dropping the charges, but I know they won't. In a letter to Brendan's mom, she says they want me to cooperate against him. Since the beginning, they said they could make my charges something very simple, and I wouldn't be charged with this if I decide to cooperate. I'm not doing that. She tells Brendan's mom she would give her life for him, and she would take the blame for both of them. Her preliminary hearing was in April of 2024, and the defense says her attorney got all the discovery in the case. And the original trial date was continued because more discovery came in. The defense asks, was everything you testified to yesterday provided to you in discovery? She said, I can't make my words fit into the evidence. But the defense says you can make their evidence fit into your words. In a letter to Brendan, she says, nobody is more afraid or sad than me. I face life in prison. It'll be up to 12 people to decide. The defense talks about how her tone has changed because she's focusing on her case more. And he asks, was that a result of the preliminary hearing? She doesn't remember. In July of 2024, she talks about taking the deal and testifying against Brendan. The defense points out she's talking about a resolution. She said she wasn't happy about going to trial and she didn't feel confident, which probably was a result of the preliminary hearing and the evidence they put forth for that would be my guess. There's a lot of talk about being frustrated with her attorney and the dates for her trial being changed. In another letter, she talks about living in Brazil would not work for Brendan, and she acknowledges having to let go of that relationship either way. She said her and Brendan are different in culture and money status, but she would want to try to make it work. But she also acknowledges that either way, this relationship's probably coming to an end. She did communicate with the media through her jail mail. She talked to a Josh, who was a producer for 48 hours. The defense asked if she is currently speaking to any other media person, and she is. Someone named Kate Brower and Zachary Franks. She said they've become her support system. They put money on her books so she can talk to her mom and also so she can get commissary. And they want her to tell her story. She says she hasn't negotiated anything. They have thrown numbers out of what they would pay her for her story, but she has not agreed to anything. Another letter dated September 15th, 2024. She writes she is ready to end this. The trial was coming up in 2 months. After Brendan was arrested, it affected her. She had low energy and she couldn't sleep. October 26, 2024, Juliana's mom told her to tell police that Brendan planned the whole thing. And she is asked, is this the day you talked to the police and said Brendan planned the whole thing? She said she had mentioned to her mom before that she was thinking about taking a plea, and she officially ended up taking the plea on October 28th. She talks about when she had her gallbladder taken out and was hospitalized for 10 days while she was in jail. She was there from October 13th through the 23rd. On October 25th, she told the prosecution she would accept the deal. On the 28th, she signed the deal, and then she appeared before a judge on October 29th to finalize the deal. He asked if it was a coincidence that she agreed to a deal after her hospitalization, and she said yes. She does admit being away from her family was a factor, and Brendan being arrested was part of it, as well as communications with her mom. But she also said she wanted to tell the truth because she withheld it for too long and she just couldn't do it anymore. She also said Brendan's mom was unaware of what really happened that day. Hopefully, we're getting to the end of these emails and we start getting into some much harder line of questioning with her credibility, because I ain't gonna lie, y'all, it's been a bit of a snooze fest this morning. I've been down in the coffee to stay awake. That is it for now. I will update the afternoon session later this evening. We will see you soon.